Hey, good evening, everyone. It is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. And yes, it is Saturday, January 27th. And that is 2024. And we are on a Saturday, and it is so great to be with you. I cannot tell you how great it is to be with you guys tonight. We have another great master topic. We'll get in that in just a second. Whether you're here at quarter to 12 at midnight, quarter to 12 for lunchtime, 3 a.m., 3 p.m., 1 a.m., 1 p.m., potato, potato. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. And, we create a new master topic every Saturday, and we roll through the week, and we finish up on a Friday. Before we get started with this week's master topic, which I think you guys are going to really, really enjoy, I want to tell you a little bit about me in case you guys don't know who I am. I'm sure you guys know who I am. But in case you don't know who I am, I'm John C. Morley. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I'm a podcast host, and I'm a podcast coach, and I'm a specialist in helping businesses tell a story that leads to them growing and being more scalable and, of course, more profitable. Now, I typically do work with companies that bring in 10 million or more. They either know their story or they want me to find their story and find it from the truth, from the core of who they are. So that's what I do. And really happy to have you here. So let's get into the master topic for the week. The master topic for the week is this: how to build trust. We're on series 3, which means we're in our 3rd year. Wow. Can't believe that. All right. So the master topic of the show, because we have our master topic of the week, and then we have like our show's master topic just for today. And that is trusted success, mastering the art of reliability and communication, series 3, 3rd year, show 5, episode number 1. So when we talk about building trust, there's a lot of things we need to do. The first thing that's really important is you have to know and learn how to keep your word. A lot of people say they're going to keep their word, but you know what? They really don't keep their word. They make excuses. So the power of authenticity and reliability in building trust is so key. Let me explain something to you guys. There was a day when people would shake hands, and that would be the contract. Now, very few people will shake hands for a contract. So a person that does what they say they're going to do builds trust, builds character, right? It builds their reputation. So let's say, for example, you did business with one of my companies, and I said to you, look, I didn't put that on the contract, but, I'm going to take care of that for you. And you come back to me, and you know that I'm going to take care of it for you. You know that it's definitely going to be exactly what you want. You know that's the way it's going to be, right? And because you trust me, you know how I work. And I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that that's how I operate all the time. I've had clients that I've dealt with. Some have had some money, some have had a lot of money, and they don't impress me because their word is mud. There was a show. It was on a while back. I'm trying to remember the name of it. And it was about the fact that this kid wanted to play football. And his father was, really gung-ho about this. You probably remember it if I give you the title. I'm sure you remember it, with the lady and the gentleman and how he quit his job and how he was doing all the sports stuff and he wasn't really making it. And all of a sudden, he said to the one guy, he says, can we get a contract? Our word is oak. He said, okay, our word is oak. You've got us. So then about maybe a few hours later, he comes back and he hears that he signed with this other team. And he goes, he doesn't say anything to him. He says, so are you ready? And he goes, we're still giving some thought. So your word's still solid as oak, right? He came back and he says, we just signed 20 minutes ago. He said, well, what happened to your word being strong as oak? Well, we were looking for you and you weren't around. And so when we say we're going to do something, I don't care if it's in business, I don't care if it's in a relationship, um, I don't care what it is. Maybe as an elected official, we've got to remember that our word is integrity. Our word is who we are. There are going to be people that come and go because their words don't mean anything in your life. That is the ultimate truth. All right. You want to be a person who selects their words and whose words really mean something. So when I tell you, hey, I'm going to do this, this is going to be done, you can trust me. Okay. But there are a lot of people out there that they're going for the cheapest price. They're going for what their brother says, what their mother says, what their cousins say, what their friends say. And unfortunately, these people don't know how to operate from their word. And you know what happens? The relationship ends. Now, that might be a sad thing, but I got to tell you, it's a good thing because you're able to do what you need to do and you're able to move on. So keeping your word, ladies and gentlemen, is the first, I'm going to call it the first pole that you need to plant when you want to build trust. All right. Hopefully that makes sense to you. The second thing is there's no rush to build trust. Take your time. Patience is a virtue, especially when we're talking about building that long-lasting, solid relationship cemented in trust. The art of patience and the impact it can have on your relationships, both personally and professionally, will really surprise you. Maybe you've been somewhere and it was a sales representative and they wanted to sell you this car. But the salesperson knew that this car was not the best thing for you. I can't tell you how many times I've had a client and they want to go buy something. And I was like, sir, that's not the right solution for you. And they get annoyed because who am I to tell them that that's not the right solution? Well, I don't want them to waste their money. I mean, I'll be happy to take their money, but I want to get them what they need. So some people get impatient. By you taking your time with someone, there's one or two things going to happen. One, they're going to build rapport with you. The second thing that's going to happen is they're going to fall out of rapport with you. The third thing that's going to happen is they're going to basically kind of like teeter-totter where they're going to be in rapport, out of rapport, in rapport, out of rapport. I see this with a lot of wealthy people, and this gives some of the wealthy people a bad name. And what happens is they feel that because they have this money that they can treat you like garbage, like crap. And I'm here to tell you that when they realize how they've treated you, you've already moved on. Because building trust is not something you get to do over and over again. It's not like resetting a password. Like I forgot it. I can reset it as much as I want. You can't rebuild trust multiple times. It becomes harder and harder. If you mess up the first time you want to rebuild, it's a challenge. Second time becomes even more challenging. Third time, it's really hard. And the fourth time, it's nearly impossible. Can it be done? Yeah, sure, it can be done. But you really want to be in a relationship or in a project or in any type of business arrangement with someone that actually doesn't keep their word. Somebody that uses their higher power to figure out that they're better than you. And I want to tell you something. If someone says they're better than you, first of all, they're not. They might use all their tactics to try to scapegoat things. But karma pays back. It pays back good and it pays back bad. So always remember that when you do something good for someone, it's going to come back to you. We got more to talk about this week, but I want to talk about one more point for tonight. So the first poll we said was keep your word. Plant that poll right in the ground. When you said something, you told somebody you're going to be there on that date, that time, you're going to be there. Take your time. Rome wasn't built in a day, and you're not building trust overnight. There's no rush. We'll do it tomorrow. If you're not ready to do the sale today, Give us a call back. Maybe you reach out to somebody and they don't get back to you. So how do you know when to not push them? Well, if you send them a message and they don't get back to you, and you call them again a week and they'll get back to you, let them chill a little while. They probably don't want to make a move at the moment, which is perfectly okay. The last poll I want to talk about tonight is communicate and make sure each understands. That sounds pretty easy. Effective communication is centered around the heart and trust. Okay. Many times you will get somebody that says something, you think that's what they mean. So what I always do, especially when I have a client that's a little challenging, but I do this all the time. They were having a challenge about something that was going to happen or something they were going to be billed for. And I said, okay, sir, I understand. Let me just clarify this with you before we proceed further. First thing I want to let you know is we're taking your check today and we're going to apply that toward this invoice. We're going to order everything. When everything comes in, we're going to go ahead and get the second third. And when we finish the work, we're going to get the final third. And you explain it to them. You put it in writing. But there's some people that are just pig-headed. There's some people that just want to talk like this, okay? They just want to appear important. You know what I do with people like that? I walk away. They might say, John, but they're so this, they're so that. I don't care. If you don't have you know what I'm going to say. For gentlemen, for ladies, if you don't have the you know what, okay, then there's no point in us even continuing our relationship. There's no point in the friendship. There's no point in the fact that you're always going to hold something against me. So when somebody doesn't communicate effectively with me and there's a miscommunication, I usually will go back and I'll try to resolve it. If they are nasty about it, I'll just walk away. It could be something as simple as, maybe they have a discrepancy on something like, you know what, I'm just going to give you your money back and you can go somewhere else. See, to me, it's not about the business. It's about the relationship. The relationship is the most important thing when you do business. It's the most important thing when you have a friend. It's the most important thing when you have a significant other. That relationship will withstand the test of time. If somebody is browbeating you, I'll give you an example. You're working with somebody, let's say, let's say you're a painter. I'm going to use a different industry than I'm in. And you're doing a great job for them. But suddenly after the year, they start calling you and they start knocking you for things because they believe that things aren't working. Maybe it's the fact that they can't tell the different colors. Or maybe it's your plumber. Maybe the plumber comes and you feel that the plumber is terrible. Well, rather than explaining to them, hey, Mike, hey, Joe, I know you've been here a few hours. Last time we were here, I don't know what really happened. I really want to get an understanding of what's going to cost today or how long you're going to be here. That's fine. But when you've got somebody and you're trying to explain and they're yelling at you and saying, look, sir, this is what you're getting a bill for. This is why I'm asking you for a check. It's not for this, it's for that. And when they're trying to yell over your voice, I don't do anything. I just say, look, I'm trying to explain this to you. And they try to yell. And then at that point, you have basically lost respect. Okay. A lot of times, that you've lost respect in them. They've lost respect in you. And it's not because they're more powerful than you. It's nothing like that. It happens because of that ego, that ego. We've talked about this before. And it seems like people that, let's say feel they're better than you think it's okay to demean you. Now, let me just say this for a second, because we've talked about this before. What does it mean to demean, according to Webster? Well, demean, according to Merriam-Webster, it's a verb, to lower in character, status, or reputation. So if I say to you, hey, you really don't know what you're doing. You're a lousy plumber. You're a terrible plumber. Maybe I don't know how to use the faucet you put in, or maybe I didn't pay attention. So I don't try to chastise you that, you don't understand. I'm like, okay, look, here's what I can do to make this easier for you. I'm going to make an instruction guide. I'm going to put pictures on it, explaining what's going on, all this stuff. I'm going to review it with you. I'm going to print it out so you have a copy. I'm going to laminate it. Okay. Make sure you understand. I'm going to have you teach it back to me. But there's some people that they just, I don't know, they just feel that they don't want to learn. And so they blame you for the fact that they don't want to learn. And so this is where trust, that bridge of trust, starts to get weakened. And you know what happens when they do something like that? So the bridge gets weakened. They do it again. It weakens again, weakens again. You know what eventually happens? It totally breaks because the integrity, because what the person said they're going to do isn't there. I'll give an example. That person writes you a check, okay? And now suddenly, because they're not happy with something, one little thing that you thought you resolved, they decide to stop payment on the check. Just because they feel they can. People that do that to me or my businesses, I politely say goodbye. I don't call them back. If they call me, I will return their call, be cordial. If they want to come out and talk about it, I'm happy to talk about it. Usually what I will do with them, like if they have a service that's for a year or something, like for example, if we did like an antivirus or a ransomware service for them, I'll say, look, let's say they stop payment on it. I'll let them go the entire rest of the year until like the next December, till it renews. And I'll be like, oh, by the way, you owe us for last year and this year, because by the way, last year on such and such a date, you wrote us a check and you stopped payment on that check. So we need to get payment for that and payment for this, or we're going to terminate your services. Pretty simple, right? I don't know if it has to do with their age or if it just has to do with the fact that they feel that they want to get something more. I think it's a culmination of the fact that they don't want to admit to themselves that they don't want to learn. So rather than doing that, they're going to blame everyone and everything that tries to help them. Now, like I said to you, you try to do everything you can to communicate, but there are going to be some people that don't want to communicate with you. So maybe you're building a new house and the contractor's over and you're talking about some things you're going to be putting in, where the, let's say, dining room is going to be, where the kitchen's going to be, where the bowling alley is going to be, etc. And you go over all this stuff and different questions you're going through. And all of a sudden, you communicate, and then the person can come back and say, okay, John, so just so that I'm clear on all this, because we discussed a lot of things. I did put it on paper, but I just want to be clear, make sure I'm understanding these notes correctly. And you'll get a copy of this. I understand that you want 2 bowling lanes, commercial regulatory lanes. I understand you want the LED lights on them. I understand you want them to work with the music. I understand you want the motif of the color to be something of like an island theme. I also understand that you want a separate entranceway so that you can have people come in to the bowling alley of yours without having to come into the actual house or to come into your man cave directly. Does that make sense? It does. And I also understand that you're in a rush to get this done because you want to have everything completed by the time you're having this surprise party for one of your cousins. And the surprise party is supposed to take place on June 16th. And you would like this to be done basically, from what I understand, because, things do happen and we have to plan for that. We're saying June 16th, but we know things can happen. So I'm under the impression that you're expecting this whole thing to be done by May 16th, a month early. So if we run any challenges, we can address them and deal with them. Is that correct? That's perfect. That's crystal clear. So how many people do you know that actually take the time to repeat what you say to them? They don't. They misinterpret what you're saying. I find that when I have somebody and they don't want to hear what I have to say back to them, when they try to challenge it, when they try to argue about it, when they try to yell about it, or when they just don't listen, I already know that I'm going to have a problem. And I already know that the trust is on its way to being broken. The question is, can I fix that? Possibly. But do I want to? I'll give you a perfect example. So I had a client where we were doing some work for, and we did some work for them remotely to help them get back on their Facebook page. They had gotten locked out. And I confirmed with him and his wife that they want us to do this work, and it was going to be X hours, and they were going to be getting billed for it, and everything was all very crystal clear. And so the next time I went to their home, I said, you owe me a check for this because I did all this work. Oh, yeah, no problem. Wife looks at it, writes me a check. And all of a sudden, I then get a phone call from him saying, what's this nonsense? And I go out, yelling, cursing at me. I go out, I talk to them about it, and I say, look, okay, so we are at the point where I almost want to walk away. And they apologize, and there's a misunderstanding. And I said, well, this is how we're going to move forward. And so that happened, okay? It happened once. Now, the second time that happens, maybe they do something like stopping payment on a check, or maybe they demean me. So that means putting me down, lowering my character, lowering my status, when there's no reason to do that. Discrediting who I am, what I do, or even my skills. Okay? All because they may not be at the level to appreciate what I'm doing for them. Let me give you an example. If you guys know about sound systems, did you know that our ears can only hear so much? And the most expensive system, our ears can't tell. So this is the question now. The question is, if I buy, this is really the question I want to ask all you guys. Does it pay, okay, to buy an expensive sound system, as will my ears be able to hear the difference? That's a good question. Some cars have top-tier sound systems. Very overrated. Maybe you enjoy listening to high-quality music while driving. But some of these are just really overboard. Extra expenses. And there's a point of quality to where our ears may not be able to detect that. Okay? And so one friend of mine had a Volvo, and he upgraded his sound system. He spent $9,000 more for a better, quote unquote, toy. One of the main selling points of the upgrade is the sound system, which he really was happy to have. But my question to you is, can our ears tell a better sound system? Or a better way to put this, will our ears be able to hear a sound system? Or is it wasted? Let me ask that question again. So is an expensive sound system wasted? Will we be able to hear the difference? And so this is a good question. There are expensive speakers out there that sound great, like the way they're talking about them, very seductive to rule you in. And everybody wants to have the best. But are the expensive speakers worth it? It's not a one-size-fits-all answer. Maybe you're in an average size room, it's untreated, and listening to music for entertainment, your bet's around $300 to $1,200 range. The higher you get with that range, you'll find the better results for, let's say, a higher price. Doesn't guarantee quality. It's possible that you could spend $5,000 on a system that sounds incredible. Unfortunately, it's also possible to pay $5,000 for a system that sounds terrible. So what makes high-end speakers more expensive? I think that's really the question. So the cost of a speaker comes from more than the electronic components themselves. High-end speakers can be more expensive due to the design of the speakers. Maybe the actual designer, if they're signed. The quality of the materials that are put in, the durability, the weight. A big thing that you want to watch out for if you care about quality and value is brand inflated pricing. One of them is Beats headphones. They are very well known for being very low quality products, but they get sold at a high quality price because of the branding. Myself, if I'm talking about headphones, not that we're really going down that pathway, but I tend to like, for regular headphones, I like my Audio Technica. These are Bluetooth, and I have them in wired too. And then I have my others that I use all the time, which is my Sennheisers, which are really cool. They use RF technology. Nice headsets, very high quality sound. They last for a while, so I can be listening to them for over a day before I have to recharge them. And have a lot of great features, and they're right under $400 some, but they work really well. All right. So there's that component. Weight is usually associated with quality of the driver. A lot of times, more expensive speakers are typically more robust and substantial. Lighter speakers are usually not as good. Engineering, common expensive speakers use more expensive components. The design has new elements. And some people believe speakers sound better if the audio is all coming from a single point in space. Manufacturers like Kef put one driver inside the middle of another driver. So rather than a tweeter a few inches above the mid-range driver, the tweeter will be inside the mid-range driver. It requires an extra design and engineering and can add to manufacturing costs as well. So a speaker budget, you'll eventually hit a point of diminishing returns. It's the $1,200 mark, in case you're wondering. The quality increases, and it will become much more subtle. At the lower end of the spectrum, you could spend $500 more for a system that's 5 times as good. When you get up to the high-end speakers, you may be paying $2,000 more for a mere 5% increase in quality. Ouch. Most consumer-grade speakers are under the $1,200 mark. And they'll give you a full range of sound. The quality is better, the higher you get in the price scale, usually. But, there's some questions like the room your speakers live in is half the challenge. The sound quality will vary depending on where you place the speakers, how big the room is. You can install $50,000 worth of speakers or $100,000. But if the room has echoes in it or doesn't have the right balance of sound, small or narrowest, then the results may be no better than if you spent $500. Generally, if you don't have a decent-sized room that's acoustically treated, then it doesn't make sense to spend more than $1,500. Of course, there's professional-grade speakers, and it's not uncommon for speakers at this level to be priced well over $5,000. So you're trying to convince musicians to record their albums or authors to record their audiobooks at your studio. then you want your studio to look impressive. And this means that you may want to invest more in speakers that look better, not necessarily sound better. And that might be counterintuitive, but adding $1,000 to your speaker budget for something that looks better might pay off much more than adding $1,000 to your speaker budget for something that sounds better. Because again, perceptions happen, right? Bose speakers are very hot. They have debates going on in their quality. The answer is yes, Bose speakers are good speakers. The question is whether or not they're worth it. Maybe you could think of it like shopping for a home, and maybe you have a $250,000 budget, but you're looking for a home that's $1 million budget. But maybe you found one in a different neighborhood and it has everything you need, assuming you're not building it from scratch. So one person might have a construction experience and want to buy a house for $125,000. And then another one could spend $50,000 installing mosaic tile walls and hardwood floors, etc. Right? The options are limitless. So do more speakers sound better? Adding more speakers can sound better in certain situations, but not all the time. So for the most part, to correctly add more speakers to your system, you need an amplifier with additional channels. And if you jump the speaker cables to the other speakers, you'll get sound coming from more places, but it won't necessarily sound better. So what I want to share with you about this whole scenario is that when we talk about communication and we talk about specifications, I don't care if we're talking about engineering, I don't care if we're talking about painting, I don't care if we're talking about a bill. Some people get something called entitlement. And I've gotten it with people at all different levels. People that have money, people that don't have money. Some people are entitled at a lower income level because they believe they shouldn't pay any more than they can afford. People at the higher level believe that they shouldn't pay any more than they can use. They're similar, right? But if you're talking with someone and someone is consulting with you and working with you, and then suddenly you change your mind, I think you should be a little bit more compassionate. Say, look, I appreciate everything you've done for us. This has been great. We don't have a need for your services anymore right now. I think we're just going to use what we have. But other people just have to get their cause in you. They just have to do that. So communication can be a big, big challenge. Let's talk about communication with landlords. Oh my gosh, that can be a real nightmare. You've got landlords that'll do a 50-page contract. You got landlords that'll do a 500-page lease. And it's not that one's better than the other. It's that they just feel that they want to cover every single way under the sun. But what they find out is that when you get to court, is that when you have everything under the sun, that contract is less likely enforceable, that lease, than something that was a little bit more, how can we say, forgiving. Because then when the court looks and says, well, we see you have this and we see this condition, so we're going to go ahead and allow this. But the more rigid you make it, the more the court's like, oh, we're definitely not allowing that. So communication is something that we learn when we're very young. But a lot of people don't master communication. They hear it. They think they're listening to something. But if I asked you to repeat back what was said, you'd be like, well, I don't know. Or another one is when someone is challenging you with a bill, for example, and say, well, if they start to yell, it's like, look, if you just give me a minute, I'd like to explain. And when they don't give you a minute, that tells me that they're rude. Okay. And so now you say, look, I just want a minute to explain. So they give you 30 seconds and you try to say, look, I'm not asking for money for this. I'm asking for money for this, which is what the bill is for. But they have already got in their head that they just don't want it. So some people are looking for a way to get out, but they don't know how to do it properly. Are all clients polite? No. But that's why being in business for many years, I've had to fire some clients. Some clients don't realize, and we've talked about this before, that there's no reason why someone should be rude to you. Communication is meant so that both parties have a common understanding, and so that down the road, there isn't any challenges that come up. Like if I was building your home, I'm not a builder, and let's say I was going to use they call it they have sheetrock, and then they have there's sheetrock for basically for bathrooms and moisture. It's a little bit different of a product. It costs more money. It's moisture. It's basically it's a moisture resistant drywall, and a lot of times they'll call it a green wall, or they have a blue wall or something like that, and it's moisture resistant. If I said to you, look, when we get to your bathrooms, we're going to use moisture resistant wall. This is why the bathroom is actually more per square foot, because when we do your shower, we're going to make sure we put in, I don't know, 3/8 or whatever it is. We're going to put that all around your shower that we're building. Okay, so we're going to put the tile on the moisture resistant, and we're going to put it between the hot tub, or between the spa or hot tub spa and the shower wall, so that we have and we're going to put it on your entire bathroom, because we know that sometimes those walls could get moisture on them. So the tile is going to absorb a lot of it, but because of the moisture resistant wall, it's not going to come close to it, because the tile is going to basically have it, and it's going to reflect from the actual green wall or blue wall. Pretty cool, right? So communication is very viable. But I think some people don't want to spend the time communicating. And then they blame others for their inability to want to listen. That's what it comes down to. And when we're building trust, ladies and gentlemen, it's not about empowering the other. It's about learning how we can collaborate. It's about learning how there's a solution. Maybe something doesn't go well. Well, I understand you don't want to spend money on the double-walled sink. What we could do is put 2 sinks in, and then we could put a manual wall, and that would probably cut down 30% if you want to do that. You would see a bar in the center, but you would save 30%. Did you want to do that? Get the idea? So communication, ladies and gentlemen, is key to everything you do in life. I don't care whether it's something you're doing for yourself, okay, like you're reading something, or maybe it's something you're doing for someone else, or it could be for a client, or maybe even in a personal relationship. Maybe you said to somebody that, we're just friends right now, or we're dating, or, we are not exclusive right now, or you know what, let's talk about the end of the month and see if we want to be exclusive, but right now we're both not exclusive. Or it could be an issue of testing, and not to go deep in this, but maybe it's a question of them doing things or whatever. And you're like, well, I want to make sure I'm safe. So you want to know what their health status is. And that is your right to know that. But these are all areas that we can communicate in. And communication doesn't have to be awkward. It doesn't have to be a challenge. If you care for that person, hey, look, I don't know how to bring this up, but I just want to get this, ugly duck out of the room first. I want to let you know that I think you're a great person, all this good stuff. And I know we're ready to move to the next step. I know I recently have been tested as of just the other day. I haven't been active for 3-4 months, but I wanted to let you know that, and I'm totally negative. And I just would like to know, when was the last time you were tested? And they may come back and say, well, I never. Okay, so have you been? Well, yeah, I haven't. Well, then, I kind of want you to get tested. So this is what it's about. It's about a loving communication. And when it's in a platonic relationship or in a business relationship, it's not about empowering the other. It's not about trying to be higher than the other. When somebody is trying to play games with you, okay, that's when you need to say this word, ladies and gentlemen. You ready? Goodbye. You're still cordial to the person. You're still polite to the person, but you just say goodbye. That's what you say. You say goodbye. Now, they may call you back. They may. And they may not. But what you have to realize with communication is that if you love yourself, you're going to appreciate taking the time to make sure that others know how to communicate with you and you know how to communicate with them. This entire week, we're going to be talking about how to build trust. And this is not something you just pound together like you do with Legos. Okay. You need to take these building blocks. And I just want to go through the ones we talked about tonight. The first one is keeping your word. That is the most important thing. If I say I'm going to do this to you, if I'm say I'm going to be here at this time, if I promise you that when you get to this point, I'm going to help you. If I say to you, you know what, when you have the party, let me know. I'll bring over the ice maker anytime. That's my word. Okay. If I say to you, look, if you start a new business and you need some referrals, I will mention you to at least 4 or 5 people in my office. Now, you're not promising they're going to do business, but your word is something that really is a staple in your life. It's something that defines your character. And I have found that people that can't keep their word are snakes. They're sly. They're scum. And I say that because they're trying to weasel out of something. And that's not a way to communicate. That's not a relationship that you want to be a part of. Second thing, ladies and gentlemen, that second pole on the ground. So first one is keep your word. Second one is take your time. There's no rush. Sale doesn't happen today. So what? It'll happen tomorrow. If it doesn't happen tomorrow, it'll happen. If it's meant to happen, it'll happen. And there'll be other people that you can get a sale from. So don't be like, oh my gosh, if I don't get this sale, what am I going to do? Chill. Last one, communicate and make sure each understands what's going on. Not just what you say and not just what they say, but that everything else is clearly understood. Maybe there's a specification that you guys didn't come up with, but you got it from a manufacturer. They're like, Jim, this is what we're going to do. And, we're going to put this pump in here. Do you understand what they're saying here with this motor, what they're trying? Because this is new. No, I don't. You know what I think we should do? We probably should call the manufacturer and ask them what they mean by, they don't do gallons per minute. They're doing milliliters per second, which is a weird way to measure pumps. I'm just making this up. So why don't we get on a quick call with them and ask them to explain this, and maybe we can get a clearer understanding of why these pumps are measured. Maybe there's something we don't know. And that's perfectly okay. In communication, you don't have to know everything, but you do have to be open to talking about it. Hey guys, you know who I am by now, so I don't probably have to tell you, but in case you wanted to know, I'm John C. Morley. I'm a serial entrepreneur and I'm a podcast host and I'm a podcast coach. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am a specialist in helping businesses tell a story that leads to them growing and being more scalable and, of course, more profitable. Now, I typically do work with companies that bring in 10 million or more. They either know their story or they want me or someone to find out the story, but they want the story to come from truth. And the reason from that is that's what I work from only. When we have something about truth, it really anchors us. We don't have to lie about it in the future. We can be proud and hold our head up high that I've told you the truth. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the very first episode of how to build trust in this series. And I think this is going to be a real eye-opening week. But I leave you with this. Whether it's a client or whether it's a relationship, if you're finding that the other person is trying to challenge you and you can't seem to make headway with them, don't fight it. Just say the words, goodbye. That's it. The person may eventually come around to their senses, or they may not. But that's not for you to worry about. What you're here to worry about is to make sure that no one takes advantage of you. And I've said this before. No one has the right to put you down. No one has the right to demean you. I don't care what they have, what they don't have, or what kind of psychological or what kind of mental problems or what kind of health issues they're going through. No one has the right. Everyone needs to be treated with kindness and be treated in the manner in which you would want to be treated. Have yourself a very amazing evening, And I'm going to be back tomorrow, Sunday, with another episode about this amazing, wonderful topic, which I talked about, is how to build trust. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Please check out believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations.